Hey, good morning, Crime Crunchies. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a little bit earlier today. I wanted to actually watch this Savannah Guthrie interview with everybody. I hope everybody's having a great morning. This looks like it's going to be an emotional interview with Savannah Guthrie on the Today Show. Looks like there's parts 1 and 2. So I wanted to get in on that. Again, thank you so much for joining me. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, all of those good things. I'm just feeling a little bit, apprehensive about what this interview is going to share. So let me put this on and we're going to just go right into it. All right, we're going to do part 1 uninterrupted and part 2 mostly. I'm going to do both parts uninterrupted, but I may comment in between. We'll just see. So hang tight and let me make sure my volume is up.
Back to the day. It was, I guess, a normal weekend for you.
Yeah.
The weekend your mom went missing. Tell me what you were doing and what happened.
Well, I had given Mike for Christmas a boys' trip to go play tennis. And so he had been gone for the weekend. So I took my kids actually to Carson's.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a beautiful, fun night together. And then I came home and really it just got home at the same time that Mike came home. We were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around. And my sister called me and I said, "Is everything okay?"
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "No." She said, "Mom's missing." And I said, "What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?" She said, "She's gone." And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, "Call 911.
Yeah.
She's like, "I did. We've called them. They're here." And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come.
I want to make sure that I added this right. Hold on, please. I want to make sure the volume is there, because if I don't hit one button, the volume isn't there. All right, I'm going to restart this. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure that.
And that didn't make any sense.
Missing. Tell me what you were doing and what happened.
I had given Mike for Christmas a boys' trip to go play tennis. And so he had been gone for the weekend. So I took my kids actually to Carson's.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a beautiful, fun night together. And then I came home and really it just got home at the same time that Mike came home. We were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around. And my sister called me and I said, "Is everything okay?"
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "No." She said, "Mom's missing." And I said, "What?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?" She said, "She's gone." And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, "Call 911.
Yeah.
She's like, "I did. We've called them. They're here." And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, and that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they took her out the back, but her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things. And it just didn't make any sense. So, Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals, but then I'm like, I'm going to call the hospital. So then I started calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time. And it was just chaos and disbelief.
Within hours, Savannah was making the long journey home to Tucson.
You saw Annie and Cam when you got to their house. Tell me about that moment.
Just disbelief. And hugging each other.
Yeah.
And I think we were on the phone with the sheriff and trying to, really make clear from the very early moments, Annie and Tommy were saying this isn't that case that
Right.
you are used to where someone wanders off. She can't wander off.
Mhm.
My mom, she was in tremendous pain.
Yeah.
Her back was very bad. She was trying to, on a good day, she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not. So there was no wander off. And the doors were propped open.
Yeah.
And there was blood on the front doorstep. And the Ring camera had been yanked off.
Yeah.
And so we were saying, this is
Do something.
this is not
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
This isn't, something is very wrong here.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about what possibly could have happened? Like what could have happened? What went down? Did you?
I think my brother, my siblings are so amazing. My brother, he spent his career in the military and worked in intelligence and is a fighter pilot and is brilliant. And he saw very clearly right away what this was.
Yeah.
And even on the phone, when I called him, he knew.
He knew.
And he said, I think she's been kidnapped for ransom. And I said,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Well, why? What? And then, it sounds so like, how dumb could I be? But I didn't want to believe. I just said, do you think because of me? And he said, I'm sorry, sweetie, but yeah, maybe. But I knew that.
You did.
I hope not. We still don't know.
Mhm.
Honestly, we don't know anything.
No.
We don't know anything. So I don't know that it's because she's my mom and somebody thought, oh, that girl, that lady has money. We can make a quick buck. That would make sense, but we don't know. But yeah, that's probably, which is too much to bear. To think that I brought this to her bedside, that it's because of me. And I just say, I'm so sorry, Mommy. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to my sister and my brother and my kids and my nephew and Tommy and my brother-in-law. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom.
In the initial days, you and your sister and brother sat together. In all the despair, you sat and managed to think of words to say. How were you able to do that in that moment?
Well, my siblings are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And we are a unit. And I talked about how brilliant my brother is, but my sister is equally brilliant and also has special powers of intuition and faith and language and depth and heart. And I feel like we came together with all these beautiful gifts that came from our mom and dad and from God. And somehow together we did our best to come up with the words to say. And I haven't posted one thing or said one thing that the three of us haven't decided together. It is surreal. How is it possible that we are having to make a video speaking to a kidnapper who took an 84-year-old woman in the dead of night in her pajamas with no shoes, without her medicine, this little person, and to beg for mercy.
In the days that followed, multiple notes demanding payment were sent to various media outlets.
The ransom notes or ransom requests came. Did you believe those to be real?
There are a lot of different notes, I think, that came. And I think most of them, it's my understanding, are not real. And I didn't see them. But, you know, a person that would send a fake ransom note really has to look deeply at themselves.
Yeah.
To a family in pain. But I believe the two notes that we received, that we responded to, I tend to believe those are real.
Really? When the Ring camera video surfaced and you could see who that person was, just tell me what you thought when you saw those images of the person who took your mother.
I mean, it's just absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It's just totally terrifying. And I can't imagine that is who she saw standing over her bed.
Yeah.
I can't. It's too much.
Yeah.
And I'm glad and grateful to the investigators and the technology companies that were able to find that video. So I hope, at least with people of good heart and compassion, stop the irresponsible and cruel speculation that had started to swirl.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
I'm glad that people saw
Yeah.
what came to our door.
Yeah. When you talk about the cruel speculation, the whispers, the innuendo that it was somebody in your family, how did you weather that?
It's unbearable.
Yeah.
And it piles pain upon pain. There are no words. There are no words. I don't understand. I'll never understand. And no one took better care of my mom than my sister and brother-in-law. And no one protected my mom more than my brother. And we love her, and she is our shining light. She's our matriarch. She's all we have.
Savannah and her family stayed together in Arizona for weeks as the media coverage grew more intense.
We had to move houses many times because people came, and not everyone is respectful, unfortunately. You know, there was a night we had to leave in the dark in the desert, holding hands, me and my sister and brother and I, get into a car waiting for us because the people outside were closing in. So we found a place that was safe, and then we couldn't really leave too much. So like those days are a blur.
Yeah.
Crying and praying.
How did your family feel about the way the investigation was conducted?
Well, it's still going.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people have worked tirelessly. And we see that.
Mhm.
But we need answers. We cannot be at peace without knowing. And someone can do the right thing. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And our hearts are focused on that.
I think where Savannah ended that, it's not too late to do the right thing, is really, I think, the intent from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think she was a fantasy was that someone sees it, someone who saw someone who knows someone who will say something.
Right. Yeah.
Because, you know, I think she really, this is all about bringing Nancy
Well, it's still an
home.
open case. We're 54 days in. The bravery that she's showing in this interview is not to shine a light on herself, but to remind people that if you have anything to do with this, if you know anything,
Yes.
we firmly believe that somebody does know something, it's not too late.
Yes.
We can still bring Nancy home if you call the
And
number.
one of the things Savannah actually said to me was she said, please remind everybody that there are lots of people
Yes.
who are missing. And that's why her family has donated to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And she wanted me to underscore that because she, you know, she wanted to be clear, like this is also about a lot of people who are missing. But you guys know how strong Savannah is. I have never, I mean, I knew she was strong, but I didn't know how much until
So
yesterday. Yeah, when I sat with her.
I just of the takeaways there, the fact that our dear friend would blame herself.
Oh, that was the hardest.
That was the hardest part.
Would blame herself for any of this when it was some sicko or sickos out there who would kidnap a woman in the middle of the night. It just, but the only SG could sit there and do that.
Yeah.
Because of the faith that she has, the
Yes.
faith that Nancy instilled in her.
And I think we're going to talk about that, Al. In fact, in the next hour, we're going to talk a little bit more about Nancy and the faith that kind of brought her to this point. So our love and prayers for Savannah.
Again, we want to mention again the phone number to call. If you have any information about this case, that phone number is right there on your screen. 1-800-CALL-FBI.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch
Part one. I'm going to go right into part two. So here we go.
You speak about your mom always in the present tense.
Yeah. I mean, she is present tense to me.
Do you feel her or have you heard her any moments?
Yeah, a little bit.
Tell me about your mommy. Just tell me about her.
My mom she's incredible. She's resolute and strong. Quiet strength, quiet faith, but hard fought. She's funny and a little mischievous, I would say, in her humor. She's a noble creature. She does what's right. She walks in faith, but not a fake, pious, put on faith, but like a grounded, earthy, she fought for it faith.
When you posted Please Pray in the beginning, the ocean of love and prayers, did you feel that? Did you sense what was happening?
I do feel prayers, you know, I do. I believe that. I think she would have been just amazed, just truly amazed.
One of the images that stayed with me through all of this was you and Annie and Tommaso walking up and looking at the flowers and at the notes. As I saw that, I thought, oh, I wonder if Savannah's going inside and what that must have felt like for you to go inside of your mom's, your childhood home, your mom's house.
Yeah, I mean, this is the house that we grew up in. It's really the only house I've ever known and remember. So we moved there when I was about 4, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's the house where I came home on a Friday night at 16, and my mom and sister were on the couch praying and told me that my father had died. It's the house where all of our memories are, good and bad. So it's hallowed ground. My mom loved and treasured that house. In good years and lean years, they were able to hold on to that house. That's my mom's safe haven. It's really hard to see that violated, and the terror that she must have felt is unbearable. It's unbearable.
Tell me, while you were spending all this time in Tucson, your kids were home, what do they know?
Well, it's so hard with kids because, you want to protect them. Dale would write me all the time, Mama, any leads? Any leads? Do you hear anything? Any hope? And I think that, we tried to talk to them and try to give them a little more certainty than we have, to let them grieve. And for my little nephew Olmo too, there's just a way in which this is even so much harder on Annie and Tommy and Olmo, because they're there.
They're there, yeah.
And they were there every day for my mom. They made it possible for her to stay in the house we grew up in that she loved so much. I think she always stayed in that house because I think she still felt my father there. All our memories. Let her have her space. And it's just a way in which this is just even more excruciating for them and all that they've been through.
I know it was a hard decision for you, and I know you told me about this, was coming back here, leaving Arizona to come back to New York. Why was that so difficult, that choice?
I looked out the window of the airplane and just thought, where are you?
Yeah.
That desert, that beautiful desert that she loves. Where are you?
Yeah.
How could I leave you? But my mom taught me a lot about grief. Our family knows grief. My father passed when I was 16 years old. He was only 49. It was a shock. And I remember my mom saying in those early days when Daddy died, you have to get up and decide and do. Just decide and do. And she had read that in a book that meant a lot to her and her grief. And so I always remember that. So I'm trying to decide and do. Just get up and decide and do every day. I've felt terrible grief, and I felt unfathomable love and comfort. The goodness and kindness of God is remarkable. and in equal measure to my sorrow. She showed us how to survive the unimaginable. When she lost my dad, she was 46 years old. She had 3 kids. She had never worked outside the home. She had to get up. She had to find a job. She had to mother 2 teenagers and 1 young adult just starting making his way into the world. She took care of her mother, her brother, who had Down syndrome. She invited to come live with us. She worked part-time to make ends kind of meet. She found a way, another job, a job she turned into a full-time job, a job she turned into a career. She had a second life of purpose and meaning. She had a million friends. She stayed strong for us. She was resolute. She was real. She grieved. I remember moments in my childhood, in those days after my dad died. She was so strong. But some mornings, before dawn, when she thought we were still sleeping, I would hear her crying at my door. To not be alone in her grief. So she taught me to be strong, but she taught me to be true. My faith is strong and resolute, but I early on felt that I heard, for one of the very few times in my life, I did hear God speak to me. As I said to myself, I can handle anything, God. I can handle anything. I just can't handle not knowing. We can't handle not knowing.
Yeah.
I have to know. And I heard a voice. And it said, you do know where she is. She's with me. She's with me. So whether she is on this earth still, or whether she is in heaven, I know where she is. I know who she's with. But we need to know.
I mean, Savannah's faith has been on display over the years, but never quite like that.
I don't know if people realize that none of us have had much correspondence with her over this whole 54-day ordeal. So as we're watching this with the world, we're learning and unpacking so much about our dear friend. And it's hard to process here in live TV in the moment.
But what's amazing is the very source of her pain is the very source of her faith. And Nancy showing her the path, which is just amazing.
So Hoda, you get the sense by watching that. Obviously, the grief is just unfathomable. It's hard to watch. It seems like she's found some peace.
I think she's
found some peace.
I think she has found some, but I think she wants the answers too. She says that no one will steal the joy. No one can walk into their lives and steal that joy. But when she talked about the equal parts, like she's seen the best of humanity and the worst of it. She's seen the best of faith that's carried her through. And her mom taught her that. like still teaching her lessons to this day. I learned so many things that I did not know about Savannah in that moment
And
myself, and Nancy especially.
And the thing about Nancy too was she had this wicked sense of humor. I remember saying something to her about a school in Arizona that did not accept Savannah, and she had a pithy remark that's not repeatable, but with a smile on her face.
I have to say, and since we've all met and known Nancy, to really understand who she is really special. But we're going to hear a lot more from Savannah. She actually revealed what her plans are, not just returning home here to New York, but returning home here to today. So we're going to talk about that, her future. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to have more from our conversation. It's a special edition of Dateline. It's at 9, 8 Central. We'll learn even more.
We know you're watching, SG. We love you. Can't wait to have you back. Again, if you know anything that could help bring Nancy home, we urge you to call that number on your screen, 1-800-CALL-FBI.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can...
Wow. That's tough. That is really tough to watch. It's unimaginable. That's the only word I could come up with. It's unimaginable what these people have gone through. So I've made some notes about my takeaways. And the number one thing that really popped out at me in the first minute is the back door was propped open. We've not heard that. We heard that the back door was left open, but it was propped open. So my theory was that they took her through the front door, that the camera was removed because they were bringing, this is my theory, that they were bringing the car around the front and they knew they were going to take her out. And so they had to dismantle that camera and then the blood, and they still could have, but why is the back door propped open? Like propped open. Savannah used the terms, she thought that the door was propped open, and I'm paraphrasing, because a stretcher had to be taken out the back. So why would they have propped the door open? So that's new, and that is something we have not heard. And I mean, there was some reason why they needed that door left open. Were they going in and out? And again, we still haven't heard if anything was stolen. Okay. The only reason why you would prop a door open is if you're going in and out. Maybe they were going in and out and they didn't want extra noise from the door opening and closing. But I still have to think that the blood going out the front is where they removed her to the front with a car. And Nancy Grace, I'm going to have another video later today. I'm going to talk more about the blood, because one of my viewers pointed out that on the front porch there are blood spots that look natural, but there is an unnatural shape, and it looks like the heel of a shoe. And this viewer, Ronald, even picked out the shoe that he thinks that the tread could be in blood. So I'm going to cover that later today. But if you look in the porch guy video, down the way, it looks like headlights. And when we look at the map that on Nancy Grace, she had the neighbor on, and he talked about the vacant home and the construction site. The construction house is at the end of a street that's facing Nancy's house. And so if there is a person who is the getaway driver, if he's sitting waiting, he could be posted up. It would make sense that he'd be posted up down the street by that construction site, because there's, less people around at 2 a.m. And it could look like there are headlights and that they're creeping forward because they're maybe bringing her out the front. But the fact that the back door was propped open, I'm going to have to really think about that. And I'm curious to see what you guys think as well, if this gives you any ideas. I love reading your comments and your thoughts. True crimers are so smart. You guys are critical thinkers. You're logical thinkers. You're outside the box. So if anybody has any ideas why the abductors would have propped the back door open. I mean, obviously it's to go in and out, but you know, what were they going in and out of? And again, we don't know if anything was stolen. Are they loading stuff up? I don't know. I'm very, very confused. The second takeaway I have is that Cameron, the brother, who has a military background, apparently he had, in addition to being a fighter pilot, had worked in intelligence, and he immediately said kidnap for ransom. His immediate thought, because this is why this interview was so helpful to me, is it's like, what does the family know? They have probably more knowledge of what's going on behind the scenes than we do. And Cameron initially, that first day, said kidnap for ransom. He's like, there's no doubt that she couldn't walk away. Apparently she had such back pain that she couldn't even walk to her mailboxes. Good days she could walk to the mailbox, but most days she couldn't. She had an enormous pain in her back. And so again, they said there's just no world where she just walked away. She's not walking away. You know, her mind was sharp. But the other thing that's a real takeaway is Savannah immediately said, is this because of me? Is this because of me? And in this interview, it's so hard. The worst nightmare of your life has just happened. Your beloved mother, the matriarch of their family, has gone missing in a horrible, mysterious way. And to think that it's your fault because of your fame has to be, that's unimaginable. And the guilt that she feels has to be enormous. And I have to really give Savannah so much credit. The fact that she is putting one foot in front of the other, you know, let alone that her mother is gone in this way. We're on day 54, but to think that it's because of her fame, notoriety, and her wealth that her mother is gone. Just the guilt. And she just kept saying to her brother and her sister and her brother-in-law and the nephew, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's like she couldn't say it enough. She's just sick, beside herself, that what if she caused the center of their world to be hurt? And it's not her fault. Nobody could blame her. She's just living her best life. She seems like a very kind, warm, genuine person. People who've met her talk very highly. This is not anything she did. There's just sickos out there. And yeah, maybe they learned from that Today segment at the restaurant that her mother lived there, and the house probably met a lot of criteria for somebody to go in and nab her. And I keep you unimaginable. I can't think of any word. And Hoda sitting across from her, it had to have been so difficult because there's nothing you can say to help your friend go through this. Nobody's been through this. She's treading fresh ground. But she did mention, Hoda asked her about the ransom notes, and Savannah feels that most of those notes were fake, and that obviously the people who sent fake ransom hoax notes need to really look at themselves. But she feels that the two notes that they responded to, she says, I tend to think those were real. And it's very possible that the ransom notes were sent originally, but the kidnappers couldn't provide proof of life, which the family was waiting for. They told them that they would pay, but I have to think that Nancy could have just perished during that time. And without proof of life, the plan fell apart. So if those two notes that the family responded to were real, that the plan fell apart because Nancy most likely perished at that point. We knew she was injured with the blood, and without the medication, there was just little hope for her. And I just have to hope that she was unconscious. And our bodies do miraculous thing when we're in stress and we're in flight or fight mode. So many people say that, you know, if they've been stabbed or in a car accident, they don't feel the pain. Our bodies protect us when we go into that flight or fight mode and the adrenaline. And so I just have to hope that Nancy's body protected her, and hopefully she was just unconscious and until her little body stopped, and that she wasn't aware of anything. That's just my deepest hope. So Hoda also asked about, you know, because Savannah talked about her family, her sister, her brother, that they're wonderful people. Her brother-in-law, she included Tommy. She called him Tommy. Her brother-in-law, she specifically did, and she kind of paused. And Hoda said, let's talk about that, the speculation that's been going on. And I have to think, again, the nexus of the whole speculation thing was Ashley Banfield on like day 3 saying she had a law enforcement source telling her that Tommaso was the prime suspect at that time. And I've gone back and I've watched it. And she said at that time, he was the prime suspect. And here's the thing. I can't really blame law enforcement or Ashley for reporting that, because that's the typical MO. It's going to be a close family member. Tommaso was one of the last people to see Nancy, but Savannah she's just so adamant. There's nothing there's no place where Tommy would have, her brother-in-law or her sister would have ever harmed their mother, and how they took care of their mother so well. And because of them taking care of her daily, that Nancy was able to stay in her beloved home and maintain her independence. And the anger that Savannah feels, I'm sure is unpalpable. But at the same time, even if Ashley Banfield had not come out with that theory of the prime suspect being the brother-in-law, people were going to get there anyway. Okay. People were going to get there on their own without that nexus. I'm convinced of it. There, you know, it's just how the formula goes. It's the playbook of, you know, missing elder mom is the, you know, the last person that sees them, the closest person, the person in the A tier orbit. So I would imagine, and again, I'm just reading into this, that Savannah may blame Ashley because Ashley was the first person to say it out loud, and then people just went with it, myself included. I spent at least 1 or 2 episodes talking about that very thing. It's like, how could that actually line up? And it did line up, and the bandmate lined up. I'm guilty of that. But the minute the family was cleared, I backed off. And I think Ashley Banfield backed off as well, because I haven't heard her talk about that. But there are a lot of YouTubers and people just in the world that have not backed off of that theory. And I mean, just even last night, I'm scrolling through YouTube and I'm seeing videos dedicated just to, you know, the brother-in-law being the suspect. There are people who are they're just dying on that mountain. They're not giving it up. And, you know, if that changes and evidence comes out later, then we can revisit it. I just don't want to stir up controversy. And as Savannah said, it just layers pain on pain. But she's, I mean, very upset. And there was a lot of people that ran with it. And again, like I said, Ashley Banfield might have been the first person, the nexus, that said it first with her source. And she tripled down on it. Ashley Banfield went on Megyn Kelly and she said, no, I'm talking to my source. And they're saying the brother-in-law is the prime suspect at this time. But investigations change. They ebb and they flow. Okay. And it changed. And they got cleared. But Savannah may still really blame Ashley. They were friends, you know, and in this business seems a little cutthroat, you know, whatever you could do to get those clicks, it sounds like. So very, very angry at the thought that anybody could have done this in her family, because she says it's just impossible that they would have. They loved her. Again, she blames herself. The 2 notes that they responded to were real. The back door was propped open, which is huge information. Hoda asked about the investigation and how the families felt that the investigation is gone. And I believe Savannah was very kind of vague. She didn't get into anything political with Sheriff Nanos. She just said that these people have been working tirelessly. The investigation's still going. So, you know, it's not that they're happy or unhappy is what I gathered. It's just, it is what it is. And people are working really, really hard, but they don't have the answers. And I think everybody agrees at this point, they just want their mom's body back. They know that she's gone and they just want her body back. And I don't think that they even care about, you know, a conviction at this point. It's meaningless because they just want to be able to bury her. They did talk about, Savannah has acknowledged, and this is going to come, I think, in part 3. And it sounds like there's been at least a part 3. I don't know if there's a part 4 on the Today Show, but tomorrow night, Dateline is going to have more of this interview, which I'm great. I want every single minute of it. I'm really glad that Savannah is finally doing this because we're dying for new information. Okay. But Savannah, as part of the conversation, you know, acknowledged that there are so many other families that have family members and children missing and they can't find them. And they don't get the media attention that Savannah has. And the family had donated $500,000 to NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. NCMEC is a really it's an awesome program, and they do help find children. So, you know, really, I think at this point moving forward, we're going to find out what Savannah's plans are about going back to work. But I really feel like she's going to be stumping for missing people. And, you know, I think in her mind, she's got to turn this horrible situation into something positive. And like she said, her mother would say, you get up, you decide, and you do. And I think that Savannah they're going to want to honor their mother. I think Nancy would have wanted them all to go back to work. I think Nancy would have wanted them to, you know, use this as a platform to help other people, like Adam Walsh did when his son was killed, which was horrible. But he really started the whole thing of America's Most Wanted. And, you know, we need more people to take up the torch on that. And I really feel like maybe this is what Savannah is going to do and use her platform for. She also just mentioned that it's never too late still. Just please do the right thing. And somebody knows something, and she's begging people to please just tell. And again, they just want their mother's body back. And honestly, I think if they got whatever remains are left, I think that they would happily pay that $1 million to whomever. You know, it's going to be a tough situation at this point. Who knows what's even left, which is horrible and morbid to say, but I think we all know. We all know that if she was, you know, put in the desert, that in the heat that's coming, and this is the only thing I'm going to say about Sheriff Chris Nanos is that if he had taken the Cajun Navy and EcuSearch, who both reached out and were willing to do a foot search in the desert, they were willing to ask them what locations they should search and actually go out and do boots on ground, it would have been so much better. Even if they didn't find something, you need to just look, because I think everybody feels like she got dumped somewhere, and there might be places where they can look. EcuSearch has a software solution called Locate, LOC and the number 8. And Twyla from EcuSearch said that they can take images from another state of drone footage and put in, if they know she was in her pajamas, which Savannah said that Nancy was taken out of the home in her pajamas with no shoes, that if they knew the color of those pajamas, they could put that in Locate and find colors. And there's actual, you know, software that could really help them to narrow in. And if Nanos had taken this help, it's getting hotter and hotter every single day. In early February, it would have been much better when it was in the 80s to go out there and try to find something. At this point, people are saying that someone could decay in days in this heat with animals and whatnot. So their opportunity to have found something was in that first early window when it was still cooler at night, and when they had people who were willing to come in and search for free. Just missed opportunities, and just really a bummer. So we're going to have at least a part 3, maybe a part 4. I don't know how they're dividing it up. Tomorrow morning, there's going to be more episodes on the Today Show, but then Dateline tomorrow night is going to have, I don't know if they're dedicating an entire hour on Dateline. I would imagine that they should or could. I just don't know how long. Hoda didn't mention how long she spent with Savannah, but just the soul searching and the strength that these people have, and especially Savannah, thinking that this could be her fault and that she caused this unknowingly to her mother is, I mean, I don't know how she's able to eat or sleep. She looks beautiful in this interview, but just through the ringer, absolutely through the ringer. And I don't know, what people can glean. I am going to come back on because I do want to look at the video with the car in the background. I'm going to look at the map of the construction site and see, does it make sense that is a car creeping up to go out the front door with Nancy? And again, as I mentioned, one of my viewers, Ronald ST7ST, he pointed out yesterday on my live that when you look at the video footage from Brian Enton going up onto the porch, you see the blood spots, and they're obviously natural because they're perfectly round, and it's something that she probably aspirated up or coughed or dripped. But there is a pattern that Ronald pointed out that it's not a natural pattern, and it actually does look like the heel of a shoe that walked through blood. And I have not heard anybody talking about this. So I want to, I took a screenshot. I want to look at the video again later today, and hopefully Ronald will join us. Hopefully if you're out there, Ronald, I don't know how you caught it, but that's amazing. And Ronald even pulled up potential shoe that the shoe print could actually be. So I'm going to be talking about that as well as any other updates that we get today. But, big news about some of the things that we learned during this interview. I can't wait for tomorrow. I'll come back on maybe early afternoon because I've got some things in the morning, but I will come back on. We'll watch the last part tomorrow, and then I'll cover Dateline over the weekend. But I want to thank everybody so much for showing up for Crime Crunchies. Again, I'm your host, Courtney C. I'm a 27-year veteran of the media. Please remember to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and like, share, dance, boogie, do the limbo, all of those good things. I really appreciate everybody in this community. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will catch you on the flip side. Toodaloo.